I'm just really scared that something bad is going to happen. Rose.
I want to go ahead and I want to get to my review of 2022's Smile, which is, matter of fact, it's coming from a first-time director who, I'm just not familiar with him. I don't think any of us are familiar with him, Parker Finn. Hey, it's your first film. I wish you the best of luck, of course. I just hope that the marketing and the trailers do you service. And sadly, that was not the case with 2022 Smile. As you guys know, I had a lot of misgivings about this particular movie, even though, it has an interesting premise, Chad. So in case you don't know about Smile, it follows a therapist who, after witnessing this bizarre suicide of a patient, she goes through these kind of increasingly disturbing experiences and leading her to believe that she's experiencing something that's very supernatural. Like this entity is haunting her for the course of a week. It's a great premise. And sadly, I don't think the marketing has done any favors to this movie. And actually, it reminds me, I just reviewed Werewolf by Night. And, I said throughout that particular review that the marketing for the special really lowered my expectations for it. And that can be doubly said for Smile, which I think had some pretty bad marketing, which, the thing I will say here, chat, which thankfully is not representative of the movie itself. What you have here is a well-acted, atmospheric horror film with solid performances throughout. And a particularly great performance from Sosie Bacon, who is the lead in this movie, plays the character of Rose, the therapist, the psychiatrist, who is increasingly and aggressively haunted by this mysterious entity that just smiles. One of the best aspects of the film, the film, it's also a mystery that's very careful not to reveal too much, but is very precise in its intentions to keep you captivated to the mystery itself and what the entity it actually is and how it operates. Listen, if you want some creepy scares, you got it. If you want some genuine moments of drama, you have that too. You have some great back and forth between a number of the actors that makes you feel very anxious the whole time. And there, and there's even some well-earned moments of comedy in the movie. There's this one particular sequence where there's this recurring gag. The brother-in-law to Sosie Bacon's character, he is just this obviously put-upon husband, and he is such a goddamn simp in the movie. And anytime they cut to him, his wife is so domineering. And it's very amusing. It's very amusing. And I like that. It's what this type of film, often needs. And listen, if you like jump scares too, it has that as well. Now I don't think all of the jump scares are necessary in the movie. Some feel pretty cheap. Honestly, you'll have characters literally in the middle of a conversation, and it's great. It's wow, I like the drama. This is well written. It's well acted. There's nothing wrong with this at all. Keep going. It's building tension. And then they'll insert a jump scare just to jolt you. And I feel like it's interrupting the flow sometimes. It's you don't need to do that. Take it easy. You can step back and just go no, it's not necessary. You're already doing a great job. It's almost like the director, Parker Finn, was oh, we got to have something scary right here. It's you don't need to do that, man. It's okay. You're doing a good job. It's almost like he's trying to make up for the fact that he hasn't had a jump scare in the last 10 or so minutes. It's it's all right. And listen, not to get too negative, but I will say the film is heavily inspired by films like The Ring and It Follows. It borrows the same rules, the whole idea, and really, the whole idea is you're haunted by this entity, this smiling entity, this demon, whatever you want to call it, and after a period of time, you die, you kill yourself. That's how it goes. Usually between 4 days and a week. They say that specifically in the movie. But along with that, it also, I mean, it borrows some shots and some creature designs from those movies. So if you're familiar with It Follows, and like the idea is like if you have sex, you know, with a person who's been followed by this demon, then you have it and it follows you until it finally kills you. You got to pass it along so it avoids you, right? I mean, very similar rules to that. You have, I mean, how certain scares look. I'm like, this is from It Follows. I can tell because I own the movie. I've seen it several times, and I know. Same thing with The Ring. Even how some people, like how simply people die in The Ring, that whole, that's in this movie. I gotta tell you right now, you know, I feel like that might be distracting for some people, especially who are really big fans of It Follows and The Ring, which I know a lot of you guys are. And I definitely noticed it, but still, you know, so much of the movie works well despite that. You know, it's well made and its influences are incredibly obvious. I mean, it wears it on its sleeves, but it's just so competently done, in my opinion. And you know, it's thanks to a lot of the performances of the actors in this. You know, it's funny because I'm looking at Sosie Bacon and I'm like, are you? Because I didn't know that was her. I didn't know that was the actress's name. Because I'm thinking like, oh, this is Carrie Sedgwick. You know, I was like, but wow, did she get some work done? She looks so young. It looks like Jimmy has no wrinkles. And I realized this is her daughter. This is Carrie Sedgwick's daughter that she had with Kevin Bacon. Hence the, you know, Bacon at the end of the name. I was like, oh shit. And so I didn't know that they, I mean, I guess they had children, but I didn't know that their daughter was an actor. This is the first thing that I've personally seen her in, chat. So I was like, oh wow. But she does a great job. You know, she carries the movie, the narrative weight, the dramatic weight on her shoulders. You know, I mean, I don't think there's a single, I would say the majority of the film, I mean, the movie's about 2 hours long. It's like an hour 50, hour 55, maybe an extra 5 minutes of credits. And pretty much every single scene in the film has her in it. And she does a lot of heavy lifting. And she does a great job. And, you know, she carries it well. But that's not to say like the other characters in the movie don't do a good job either. I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're there to add to her performance. They're there to add to her anxiousness, her feelings of loneliness, her feelings of isolation, and they do a good job. I mean, you have this her ex-boyfriend played by Kyle Gallner. Jolie's this cop. You know, he helps her along in uncovering more of the mystery of what this entity is, this smiling demon is, or whatever you want to consider it. I mean, he does a good job. He's not bad. No one's giving a bad performance. Maybe there's a lack of development for these people because they're just there to serve her, but they're not bad. Like you also have, you know, Jessie T. Usher, which, you know, you guys might not recognize the name, but he's probably best known for playing the character of A-Train in The Boys, which he's very good at. Here he plays the fiance of Sosie Bacon, but he does a good job. He plays the exasperated husband, or in this case, the exasperated fiance who doesn't really truly understand what's actually you know, going on. You also have Rob Morgan, who, again, you might not know the name. Rob Morgan, who he's been in a lot of the Netflix Marvel shows. He was Turk in those, appearing in Daredevil and Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, all those. He's here. He has a small role. He does a great job. You know, it's a little exposition heavy, but it works. His performance is great. His reactions are great. Cal Penn, who I feel like disappeared for a while. I guess he worked for the Obama administration for a few years. I forget what his role was, but he's back. He plays kind of the head of this division of the hospital that Sosie Bacon works at, the Rose character works at, but he's great. I mean, he does a good job. He's not in a lot, but when he's there, it was like, oh, I buy him in the role. You know, as this individual who cares for Sosie and wants to make sure that she's doing okay, and that she's fully competent enough to do her job. You also, now this other actress, I'm like, I was looking at her the whole time. You also have this other actress who plays the psychiatrist to Sosie Bacon in the movie, Robin Weigert. And I'm like, you look so familiar. She plays Calamity Jane, chat, in Deadwood. And which, I mean, really to show you like, wow, this actress is just how different she can be for whatever role she's in. Like she's playing this, very well-spoken, well-mannered psychiatrist who's very caring. Watch Deadwood to see like just how different that she can be. She's one of those underrated actors out there, Chad. She does a great job here. And then you have the return of Judy Reyes, who I'm sure she's been doing stuff for well over a decade, but she played, she was one of the major players, major characters in Scrubs. She was Turk's wife in that. She has a role in this, and she has a scene with Sosie Bacon that I think is quite good in my opinion. But yeah, like there's no one in this movie. I mean, and you have like I forget the actress who plays this character, who is pretty much like literally the face, the smile of the movie. I forget her name at the top of my head, but I feel like she does a really goddamn good job. I mean, her literal smile is selling this film in the marketing. Love her. She has a very small role in the movie initially. I mean, you pretty much see in the trailer and how that plays out, and that leads to the eventual rest of the film, the rest of the story, if you will. But she's great. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good movie. And, although it indulges in a few too many jump scares, they aren't really necessary. And it's very similar to other films that we've seen. I mean, it's obvious. Like, It Follows and The Ring. I mean, you could pick. I mean, you watch the movie, you'll be like, okay, I see where you took this from. It's well paced. It's tightly written. It doesn't give too much away. It doesn't over-explain things to where stuff stops making sense. And you're like, well, wait a minute. You're able to start poking holes into it, as enough of a mystery, but it leaves enough breathing room for itself where it's like, okay, it's still kind of like, oh, how does this work? Like you question it, but not questioning it in a negative way. But thankfully, the actors and the performances that they give, particularly by Sosie Bacon, they make this a really fun watch. I mean, it's a crowd pleaser. I saw this in the afternoon. I didn't go to the senior citizen screening. I didn't enjoy, my time with the senior citizens sucking on their Werther's originals while watching this movie. I saw this with the audience that was intended, well, mostly teenagers. Shell's like, oh my God, there's teens everywhere. And they were eating it up. They were loving every moment of it. People are going to enjoy this. Yeah, outside of the jump scares, which at times, like, there's some fun jump scares that work for me. But there's some atmospheric horror moments involving this entity and creature that's able to take on the appearance of multiple people, has some monstrous forms. They're like, God damn, when you look at it, it's like, ugh. They use some CGI in this movie, and for the most part, the CGI is pretty goddamn good. I really liked it. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you didn't need to do those jump scares. I mean, some of them worked. Some of them, like, yeah, that was cheap. That was cheap. You took away from your actors' performances because you wanted to have a jump scare in there. But other than that, and other than what it's obviously basing itself off of, what it's obviously inspired by, and hell, what it's ripping off, it works. It works very well. I mean, the marketing for this movie, I don't feel like did it justice, Chad. The marketing made it look like something like the Blumhouse's Truth or Dare, the smile and stuff. And it's not that. Believe me, it's not. The smile is actually pretty effective when it's on multiple people's faces. So yeah, I ended up really enjoying it. Again, it's another, Chad, 2022. I feel like is going to be the year that people are going to look back and say, that was a very good year for horror in its various subgenres. Like some of my favorite movies this year have been horror films. Everything from X to Pearl to Barbarian this year, chat, and Hellraiser 2022, which I just reviewed. Hell, Werewolf by Night, which is an homage to Universal Monster movies, And then this one was great, I mean, it started poor of something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 15th requel, if you will, of that franchise. And we're going to be probably ending this year with Halloween Ends, hoping for the best for that. But hey, I was very pleasantly surprised by this. And I went in with, several days before, I had like the lowest expectation, but hearing people's opinions on this, saying like, listen, it's not what the marketing has indicated. I don't mean to be mean, but whoever edited those trailers, that company, they should be fired. They should not be editing horror movie trailers. They did a shitty job. They made the movie look like a joke, and it's not that. Like, don't go in thinking it's gonna be on something like the same level as Truth or Dare, because it's not. It's not. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's my favorite. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite movies this year. Probably not my favorite horror film this year, but still, it's great. I would give it on the double toasted scale. I give it a low full price, Chad. Low full price. But that's just my thoughts on the movie. I'm very curious to hear other people's thoughts on it. I mean, the movie's doing very well. It looks like it's gonna be #1 this weekend again. Which is great for a horror film. It's going to be probably crossing over $100 million a weekend. A budget, I think, what was it, like 18 million? It's like, yeah, 17 million. They used their budget very effectively, chap. But yeah, that's how I feel. I think it's a great movie. Low full price. Another win for horror this year. But what about you guys? How did you guys feel about 2022's Smile by, coming from freshman director Parker Penn? Keep your eye on this guy, chap. Keep your eye on this guy. I want to see what he does next.